As I mentioned in yesterday's video, I am in the process of packing to move, and as such, I found an abandoned bag of materials that I forgot I was trying to turn into something, and I recently saw a video. I'll put a reference into what I'm talking about here. I saw a thing that I want to make. That's the pinned version. I have these curtains that I thrifted at one point. One of my favorite things to do, upcycle some curtains. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of this thing, and then if you end up wanting to go to her video and seeing how it's actually fully done, her instructions are pretty good. You take a rectangle of fabric, and as she says, you fold it hot dog style, not hamburger, so that you have a tube, basically. So you sew a little bit at each end to be your shoulder, and then you drape it in such a way that it makes a back seam, and you end up with a drapey cape. I'm sure I did that explanation all of the justice it deserved. I should have started this video with this clipped to my glasses, but I did not. Once you have this pinned appropriately, I'm being very careful because I used clips instead of regular straight pins because delicate gauzy curtain, right? You create armholes. I'm terrified that I'm going to pop off all of the things every time I do this. You create armholes, and then the rest of your tube drapes behind you. This fabric is a little bit smaller than the one that she used, but I'm not mad about it. I like that it's a shorter drape in the back. You probably cannot see all of it because this is probably slightly out of frame. But I feel like this is a pretty adequate idea, and I feel like I have accomplished my mission on creating a similar item. I have these giant armholes, very breezy, and I think I'm going to give it some trim, maybe in the back where the V is. I might trim the whole inside edge. It would end up draping behind me where you wouldn't see all of it, but I think that would help to elevate the look of this item. And then I'm debating whether or not, I don't think it would make sense to put any drapey beads or anything on it because of how the sleeves are, but that was a thought that I had at one point. I might have to play around with that and see how I feel about it. Part of my goals with some of these upcycles are just that I occasionally need a project that I don't have to put that much effort into because I am more likely to finish it that way. So the only thing I really have to do on this carton is remove the tag, which I'm going to have to do carefully because I don't want to seam rip it because it does not have an additional seam. So it's actually worked into the original seam of the curtain. So I'm going to have to carefully remove this so as to not disturb stitches. That's fine. The only thing that really throws me off is that one end of this curtain has a very thick seam because this is probably the side that you're supposed to hang it on. Whereas, where's my other armhole? The other side has like a very small hem almost at this point, since I'm turning it into a garment. This one is like much wider. And visually, it kind of bothers me, but I don't really think too many people are going to notice once I'm wearing it and it's a little bit decorated. But these are the kinds of things that I then get a little hung up on and end up not pursuing the project because I don't want to try and figure out the little nitpicky things sometimes when I've got other stuff to get done. So I'm going to fight all of the screams in my head to even up the edges of the sleeves to make them look uniform. I'm gonna ignore all of those screams and just go for it and hope for the best. As per usual, I always have one little detail that I accidentally overlook. So just be cautious of how you pin your seams because I did the shoulders. Did I do the shoulders correctly? I don't think I I don't think I technically pinned any of these edges correctly, but I think ultimately no one's going to be able to tell because of what the material is. You want to make sure that when you pin it, it's wrong side out. I technically pinned this right side out, But I don't think it's ultimately gonna matter, but I might go back later and redo it, or I might take the second curtain that I have and redo it because technically the raw edges, the previous seams on this are now, I think, facing out instead of being hidden inside the garment, but those edges are pretty clean. So I don't think it's really gonna matter. The only place it really sticks out is the back of the garment when it's draped. Accidentally put all the wrong edges out. But again, I don't think you're really gonna be able to notice while it's worn. No, I don't think anyone's gonna be so close to me as to realize that, like, the edging of this is a little wonky. The whole thing is sheer anyway, right? So you're gonna see it no matter what. It's just a matter of, like, which edge you're really seeing. I could mitigate it a little by doing a top stitch now that it's together to get the shoulders to lay flat, and then that'll also make it look a little more finished. But for the most part, this is the whole thing. I'm very excited about it. I also noticed if I really want to go extra, I could put some sort of hook and eye or any a button maybe. I could also technically make it multi-purpose and put an attachment here so that I can pin it in front if I want it to be less billowy, but I don't think I want to. I'm not worried about this being an item that can be worn two different ways. You know what I mean? I like it as it is. I think the only thing I have left to figure out, and it's unfortunate because I really want to do it, trimming up some of the edges, putting a decorative trim, like I said earlier, to help elevate the look of this item in general. Because as it is, it's very plain and there's nothing wrong with that. But in my experience, getting your Ren Fair garb or your LARP kit to look that much more unique and stand out from the crowd, you really have to just like give it those little details that help elevate it. Um, I don't know. I know I own a few pieces of decorative trim and various ribbon. I could not tell you where they are right now. I think they're packed away somewhere and I might not have access to them until I'm finished moving. However, I'm a little torn because I do have very random things like yarn that I could always crochet up a cute little trim to use instead. Like I have this, I think it's called eyelash yarn, I forget. It's very obnoxious to use. But I am curious if I was to hand stitch it a tiny bit around some of the edges, if it would be interesting enough, but I feel like it's not, I feel like it's not quite it for what I'm envisioning. So I might have to finish this up another day once I found some of my ribbon or trim. I have various what are they called? Bias tape, I think it is. I have some of that floating around. I don't think any of it's the exact correct white match to to this curtain. I don't think I have an exact match for it, so anything I put on is gonna stand out a lot, and so if it's gonna stand out, I feel like it shouldn't be a white that obviously doesn't match. I feel like it should be something else entirely. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. There might be a follow-up video about that, or if I find the rest of the stuff today, I could finish that out today. I guess you'll know by the end of this video. I thought I would give everyone a final look with just a randomly thrown together outfit. Most of my clothing tends to be black. I don't know if black with such a white cape is quite the vibe, but that's okay. It was windier than I thought it would be outside, which made this a little bit difficult. And then the neighbors and the cat decided they wanted to be involved. So enjoy.
Hey, Pixel. Come here. Come here.
Claws out of my clothing, please.